We are so back with Gene Key 10. I'm Molly, you're watching Mirror Readings, and I'm gonna mix it up right now because I feel like the shadow of Gene Key 10, which is self-obsession, is so boring compared to the Siddhi, which is being. Have you ever known a narcissist? That's the shadow of self-obsession in action and in a reactive state. It comes with the gift of naturalness, but spoiler, naturalness can only be accessed naturally. So we're going to begin at the end with the Siddhi of being, which is divine laziness. Doesn't that sound nice? Like most of the other Siddhis, the whole concept of being dissolves our individual consciousness into a we. And also we begin to see human drama, like things that human beings take so seriously, as an illusion or a game. And this can be accessed like all the time. Beingness is pure detachment, and it can be accessed every day in meditation. It can also be accessed just by waking up in the game. We're constantly focused on either what's going on outside of us or on our inner monologue, whatever story our mind or ego is telling us. But we can wake up in the game anytime we want. You guys ever read this? Tufti, Reality Transurfing? Highly recommend it. This book makes a practice out of accessing being like all day, every day, just by waking up. By the way, detachment is not cold or uncaring. By going in and out of identifying with the human drama, we're able to have a better experience of it because we can be detached. Now, we're always going to get pulled back into it, but when we wake up in the game and access pure being, it's just a momentary disidentification, just removal of our grip on the pull of our emotionality and the human experience. And this Gene Key number 10 is all about loosening our grip. We'll see in a second when we talk about the shadow and the gift, but basically that shadow of self-obsession is like holding really tight onto our idea of ourselves. A lot of times it masquerades as like an addiction to being on the path of enlightenment. And naturalness and being, that's the opening of the hand. The last thing I'll say about being, aka divine laziness, is that it is technically doing nothing. And if we want to survive as a species, which I would like to, we're gonna have to do some stuff. But unlike a lot of the other Siddhis, this is one that can be accessed on the reg. And the more we access it, the more available that loving detachment becomes, which is gonna be a superpower. So, as I said, in a reactive state, self-obsession presents as narcissism. But in a repressed state, it's interesting. Rather than being obsessed with our own uniqueness and like making that the center of attention, we try to deny our own uniqueness and end up sucking all the oxygen out of the room by trying to be a martyr, by trying to deflect away from ourselves. And in playing small or like trying to play small, it's actually still an ego trip that ends up like taking up a lot of space. I personally have a lot of empathy for narcissists because to me, it strikes me as a very normal coping mechanism for being a lonely kid. But obviously we have to grow out of that or we turn into fucking monsters. But either way, self-obsession disconnects us from others. And when we are able to consider others, all we're doing is projecting onto them. All we see in other people is how we would like to change them to make them more like ourselves. It's madness, and it's a loop that can't be broken except by some natural occurrence that like really doesn't occur until we get tired of the loop. Oftentimes what breaks the loop is unfortunately wreaking havoc on our personal relationships. We really need other people to reflect back to us where we still have work to do. And unfortunately, narcissists are often very charming, very powerful, and usually willing to do whatever it takes to get what they want. So they step on people pretty easily. And a lot of times those people have a lot of yes men around. And that makes it very challenging to break the loop. If you have a narcissist in your life that you love, you got to tell them what's up. And not in like the macro sense, like, hey, you're a narcissist. They don't want to hear that. But pointing to some specific pattern that they're looping on that's causing pain. And by the way, if you're a narcissist and you know you're a narcissist and you're doing something about it, you're my fucking hero. Because that like never happens. A certain amount of narcissism is absolutely necessary to get anything done in this world, particularly if you're like not conforming to societal norms. Like you literally have to be a little bit delulu to do anything that breaks the mold, but we don't want to break our relationships in the process. So if you recognize this pattern in yourself, good on you. Let's talk about an insidious way this pattern can express, which is through an addiction to the path of healing. Ugh. I'm very familiar with this one and am definitely guilty of getting myself in this loop where I'm constantly looking at what's wrong with me, what I need to fix, and what I need to like figure out about myself and the world to get to the next level instead of just loving myself as I am in this moment. This is what I talked about earlier in the video, that grip. When we're constantly trying to figure it out and like figure ourselves out, we're holding on really tightly to how we should be instead of allowing our naturalness to emerge. So as I said, this gift is a gradual opening of the hand so that we can hold these higher states of being. As we loosen our grip, we return to a childlike state of consciousness where we're engaged in pure presence and creativity. That gift of naturalness is like a wave of playfulness that washes over us. We disidentify with our human drama. We start opening our hearts to what's possible, and we can be our true selves because we're not attached to outcome. We're just souls playing in form. Like, can we please have a good time? To access the gift of naturalism, which again has to occur naturally, is to stop arguing with life. Stop arguing with each other. Stop arguing and engaging in internal conflict within ourselves and just get curious about everything. Thank you so much for joining me here on Mirror Readings. I'm Molly, and if you'd like to get a reading with me, please visit mirrorreadings.com. All subscribers to this channel get 15% off, and you can also email me directly to book a time, mirrorreadings@gmail.com. Till next time.